Hello, and welcome to a video that I have been looking forward to filming since the beginning of this year. I'm Taylor, I'm an indie author. This is my book, Venture Below. It's available on Kindle, Kindle Unlimited if you want to give it a go. It's a fun ride, young adult fantasy. A lot goes on, it's fast paced, it'll keep you reading. That's not what we're talking about today though. We are going to be talking about the 50 plus books I have read so far this year. I'm going to pop open my Goodreads. If you want to be my friend on Goodreads, go check the description below. Last year, in total, I read 41 books. This year, we're in the last week of May, and I've read 54. There is one secret, one reason that I have read that many books so far this year. Let's get into the video and I'll explain. I've been seeing these tier ranking videos for years now and have dreamed of the day I would have something to tier rank. When I came up with this idea, I was like, I have to film this. And that was probably the beginning of the year. I was like, I can't wait to like film at the end of 2024 all the books I read. And I didn't anticipate that I would reach my goal midway through the year. Here's my logic. I will film this 54 books that I have read, and then at the end of the year I will tier rank the rest of the books that I've read, because my secret goal is 100 books. But the one I put out there for the public was 50. In actuality, I would love to read 100 books this year. That would be my dream. I'm gonna have my Goodreads open on my phone, but then I have the tier ranking website up on my laptop. I'm gonna be kind of looking back and forth because I want to give you a little bit of insight as to why I am putting them into the tiers that I'm putting them, including the rating I gave it. Some of these books I don't really remember, and I have a tier for that. So the first tier that I have is Bury Me With This. These are books that I think about on a daily basis, if not hourly. These books live rent-free in my head. I want them printed out and buried with me in wherever I end up at the end of this life. That is how much I feel about them. They are 6-star reads, untouchable. I will not hear any hate on these books. Sidebar, okay, sidebar. Yesterday, I was telling Kayla and Trevor some funny video ideas I have, and one of them was reading 1-star reviews of my favorite books, which go in that category. And when I tell you I read some of those in the car, and I got aggressively angry. I have tears in my eyes. I was so mad. I was like, I can't put this on the internet. I'm violent. I will not be doing that video, but that's how strongly I feel about these books. Now, the next tier down is The Reason I Read. These are books that when I am choosing the books I want to read, I'm hoping they will end up this good. So these are like 5 stars, 4.5, 4.75. These are books that like I think about or I'm really grateful I read. The next tier down is Definitely Worth a Read. These are like, I would say anywhere between 3 and 4 stars, but these are books that like I'm really grateful I read and that I probably won't ever reread. Now, the next tier down is This Was Fine, I guess. These are pretty mid-tier 3-star books that like I read this, and that's really all I can say about it. It wasn't great, it wasn't bad, it was just it. The tier below that is I Don't Know Who That Man Is, and that is a Keke Palmer quote.
To say it, I hope I don't sound ridiculous. I don't know who this man is. I mean, he could be walking down the street, I wouldn't know a thing. Sorry to this man.
And that is what I'm quoting, okay? I don't know who that man is. I don't remember reading this book. That is either I didn't finish reading that book and I DNF'd it, or I don't remember reading it at all. The last tier is how can I do this to myself? These are books that either I pushed through and finished, or I DNF'd so hard because I didn't like it. And I do DNF quite a bit because life is too short to read books you don't like. Period. Point blank. Okay, we are gonna start with the first book that I read this year. These are not in order, but for some reason the first book I read this year is in the first place. That is what we're gonna start with. And the first book I read was Addicted to You by Krista and Becca Ritchie. This book I liked, surprisingly. I know this is a part of the Addicted series, so I really liked this. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in Definitely Worth a Read. It wasn't like the reason I read, but I thought the romance was really interesting. The spice, because there is spice in this book, was pretty good. I thought it was insightful in the ways of how it dealt with like certain addictions. I'm not really gonna expand on too many of these books. I'm just gonna give you my thoughts, and if you want to know more, I recommend looking them up on Goodreads or on Amazon or wherever you get your books. Next up, we have Love in the Time of Serial Killers. Now, I read this one more recently. This is hard because I DNF'd it. I gave it 2 stars on Goodreads. As the review, I put I liked the cover. I think I'm gonna go ahead and put it in. I didn't hate it. It just didn't give what it needed to give. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in. This was fine, I guess. Funny story. I have a reading vlog about this, so if you want more of my thoughts, I recommend watching that. Oh, I'm gonna put this in This Was Fine, I guess. My review could be summed up in one quote: you were good, I'm waiting for you to be great. I gave that one 3 stars. To me, that's fitting. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in front of Love in the Time of Serial Killers because I liked it definitely a lot more than that one. Next up is Ricochet. We're going in already. Okay, I'm gonna put it in I don't know who this man is. I don't even think I gave this one a rating. Yeah, I didn't give it a rating on Goodreads because I didn't finish it. I really enjoyed the first one, but I draw the line at toe sucking. DNF. I'm sure this is like a novella. I'm pretty sure in between 2 of the actual books in the series. I drew the line there. Maybe I will revisit the series. I'm not looking at that book ever again. It was the biggest ick and I had to put it down. Okay, moving on. The Pram. Based off of my initial reaction, I might have to put this in I don't know who this man is. Oh, this was the creepy baby one. I gave this one a 3.5. The story was insane and disturbing, a high 3.5. I think I'm gonna put this in definitely worth a read. This is kind of how we get into the how I read so many books so fast this year. I have Kindle Unlimited, and Amazon Original puts out short stories that have audiobooks. So when I'm getting ready for the day, when I'm eating my breakfast, doing dishes, doing chores, fantastic time to listen to an audiobook. I will put on these short stories and I will just blaze through them. Some of them are bangers, some of them are, how could I do this to myself, which we'll get to. But The Pram was like a spooky one. I read that at the beginning of this year, and yeah, I gave it 3.5. It was actually worth the read and kind of freaked me out. So maybe pick it up if you have Kindle Unlimited during like spooky season. Next up, The Exception to the Rule. This was a book I literally read last night. I put on the audiobook while I was playing a video game. I'm gonna put this in the reason I read. I feel that strongly about it. It was so good. I was not expecting it. I gave it 5 stars. This is the first Christina Lauren I have ever read. It was actually so good, so sweet, fast-paced. I think it was 100 pages. So in audiobook, it was only like an hour and 4 minutes. It had these emails that were in the book, and immediately that turned me off. I just can't get behind it, but the way they handled it was so well done, and like there's a little bit of intricacy with it, and I vibed. I really really liked it. So if you're looking for a fun little summery romance, definitely check out that one on Kindle Unlimited. The Hobbit. I'm gonna go ahead and put it at definitely worth a read, more than Addicted to You. I cannot put Addicted to You before The Hobbit. I just can't do it. But it took me so long to read. I started reading this in October of last year and I finished it in April. So, and I would love to sit down and read it like one more time, like just straight through. But I thought it was good. I love the Lord of the Rings universe, so I loved The Hobbit. Every Day. I'm gonna put that as definitely worth a read. I read that book in one day. I also vlogged about that experience. It was good. I gave that one 4 stars. Moving on. Love the Way You Lie. I don't know who that man is. The hell is that? I gave it 3 stars. This is one of the books I listened to during me and Kayla's 24-hour reading challenge. No wonder I don't remember it. Yeah, I don't know who that man is. I just needed thrillers to like keep me awake, so that's why I listened to this one. And I found out later that it was the 4th book in a series of these little short stories. Okay, moving on. The Spiritual Poems of Rumi. So this was my first Rumi collection that I ever read. These again are out of order, but I just read this one yesterday. I have been on a poetry kick. I'm pretty sure the last 5 books I've read have been poetry, but this definitely worth a read. Maybe the reason I read. Yeah, I'm gonna put it before Christina Lauren. Just, I have to. I feel like everybody has to read it. The Woman in the Strong Box. I need to find, I don't know who that man is. I need to find this on Goodreads. I don't remember anything about this. Oh, okay. This one was one I was confused about if it was nonfiction or if it was fiction, like a true crime story, just really well done. I'm gonna be honest. I still don't know. I never looked it up. I listened to the whole thing. It was a really interesting story about a woman who goes missing, and that's about all I know. Stephen King's On Writing. I'm gonna go ahead and put this at definitely worth a read. I really want to film a YouTube video following Stephen King's writing routine. I still plan on doing that. It's just I've been way too busy with life right now to do it. So hopefully in the next few weeks I can do something with that. But I read this book in preparation for that and I thought it was good. So I gave it 5 stars. I probably would change it to 4, but it was really interesting. It's the first Stephen King book I've ever read. There was some stuff I didn't agree with. Okay, moving on. The Wolf and Me. Okay, listen here, Linda. This book is a book of poetry that I bought at a library sale I went to the other day. This and one other book that changed my life. But this book was so well done. It like incorporated Norse runes and like it was so good. And I'm pretty sure this author is from the town that I'm in right now, so she is not well known at all. Her name is Anne Westlund. I highly recommend checking this out. I think I'm gonna put it at definitely worth a read. I think because the other one I read was so incredible. That's what happens, is some of these books are just so top tier that it changes my whole scale. I'm gonna put it there, definitely worth a read. I think you should check it out and we should support her. I think she's either an indie author or a part of a small publishing house and is not really well known. The only review and rating on Goodreads is mine. Please go check it out, support her. I think the book is like $10. I don't know if you can get it on Amazon or not. I say give it a good Google and check it out. The poems are really, really well done. The Tiger Came to the Mountains. Okay, I remember this one. Okay, I'm gonna put this at definitely worth a read. Or This Was Fine, I guess. This was fine, I guess. This was fine. Definitely before that, but not really before Funny Story. It was really interesting. It kind of encapsulated like generations. I gave this one 4 stars. In hindsight now, I don't think I would rate it that highly. Best-selling author of Mexican Gothic. The main character is an adventurer of the family. Her brother, the gentle dreamer, even as they bond over folk tales and hold each other close. Their world has never felt so dangerous. This one, it's really good. Actually, yeah, definitely worth a read. Wow, there's actually so many more than I thought. There's so many more books to go. Holy shit. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on. My Dark Vanessa. The reason I read books. I have a reading vlog all about My Dark Vanessa. Check it out. I'm not going to spend time talking about it, but I gave it 5 stars. And yeah, you definitely should read it, but read it when you're ready and check the trigger warnings. The Love Poems of Rumi. I'm going to put this at definitely worth a read. I'd say about here. It was good. I did not like it as much as I liked the Spiritual Poems of Rumi, but it was still really, really good. Arc by Veronica Roth. I don't know who that man is. 4 stars. Why did I give this 4 stars? I'm gonna put it before the feet one. How about that? Veronica Roth wrote the Divergent series, if you do not know. Oh, now that I remember, okay, this was like on the eve of Earth's destruction and the scientists had like made the decision to stay when like the destruction happens because there's this big cataclysmic thing that's about to happen to the Earth, and so she's helping prepare these spacecrafts and stuff with different plants and like things like that for preparation for a new Earth on like a spaceship, and she doesn't want to go. She wants to stay on Earth even though this big thing is gonna happen, the apocalypse basically, and kind of her story about that. And I actually really, really liked it, but I didn't remember this at all, so I think I have to put it in I don't know who this man is, but I really liked it. What the Dead Know. I read this at the beginning of the year and I put not for me. I don't remember this book at all. All I remember is the feeling it gave me, which was that I didn't like it. If he had been with me, how could I do this to myself? How? I need some coffee. I need some coffee. If you're sensitive and you like this book, maybe just fast forward. Click away a little bit. There's nothing wrong if you like this book, but I do not. I hate this book. I read this in a reading vlog, in the same reading vlog that I read The Song of Achilles. Which, why did I do that? I'm gonna put this at how could I do this to myself, because I did not like it at all. If I stopped reading before the last 20 pages, it would have been 3 stars, maybe. Disappointing and so unnecessary. The beginning was all right, but was it worth it? No. This book was like 400 pages, I think. I may be being dramatic, but it was at least 300. Like, why? Moving on. The Lover. I don't know who that man is. I remember this book, but like not enough. It was fine. I'm pretty sure it had to do with like werewolves, this one woman's sister's husband and her having an affair. I don't know. I'm gonna walk away from that, to be honest. I don't really know. Okay, Wild Love. Okay, this is the reason I read. This is my first Elsie Silver novel ever. Did I think I would be into country cowboy romance? No, but here we are. And I loved this. The male main character in this book. Oh my god, I love him so much. The way I fell in love so quickly. Oh my god. The yearning in this book was unmatched. Loved the pacing and the banter so much. My first Elsie Silver, it will not be my last. It's basically a small town romance where he, the main character, falls for his best friend's younger sister. She's younger by like 2 years and has been in love with her since they were like in high school. Just kind of them fast forward into the future and how their lives have all kind of panned out, and now they're back in this small town and he is head over heels for her and how their love kind of happens. I really like this. I like this more than the exception of the rule, for sure. The Subtle Art of Not Giving Up. Definitely worth a read. I liked it. It's really an insightful like way to look at life, especially because I'm somebody who struggles with people pleasing and trying to fit into the mold that other people have had for me. This was really just a big cure for my soul, I think. Do I agree with everything that was in this book by this man? No. But I'm gonna take what I take out of it, and I think you should do the same. What does this say? Out of the mirror, darkness. I don't know who that man is. Let's see how many times I can say that in this video. Let me find this review. I gave this 1 star? Why? Taylor, why did I do that? What is this even about? Oh, this got weird. How could I do this to myself? I did not know. Maybe that worked for other people, but it did not work for me. This was another short story, if you can't tell by how these look. They're all kind of in the same sphere from Amazon Originals, and I hated this. Let's just do the other one. The Candles Are Burning. I put 2 stars, interesting read, took a turn I hadn't anticipated. I don't even know. I don't know who that man is. I don't remember anything about this. Now I remember. Don't like it. We're gonna move on. I need to take a breath. Go grab a snack, grab a drink, because we're about to go in on this book. Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. This was my first Abby Jimenez book. And I should start off by saying I hate miscommunication tropes to my core being. I hate them. I hate when romance books throw them in like the last 3/4 of the book as the issue that happens between the couple. I'm like, just be mature, be adults, and have a conversation. This book I gave 2.75 stars because it felt like the whole issue they were having in this book was being immature and not having a conversation. Let's just read my review, shall we? 2.75 stars, and all of them go to Jacob Maddox, the main male character. I should have done my research on the tropes in this book. It felt like a collection of every single one I hate. The slowest slow burn had its moments. The romantic writing got me, but the conflict had me banging my head against a wall, and I stand by that. I hated this, I hated this, I hated this, but it was better than if he had been with me. Will I read another Abby Jimenez? Sure. I liked the beginning a lot when things were in the yearning stage. Basically, it's like rivals to lovers, and they like send letters back and forth to each other, and there's just so much miscommunication that goes on in that book. I read it on Kindle, and I was so angry all of the time reading it. I'm gonna move on. Mistborn. Okay, we're moving on to a good book. I gave this one 4.5 stars. I'm gonna put this on the reason I read. This was my first Brandon Sanderson. It is high fantasy. Mistborn is like the best gateway into his writing. He has a long series. He has a whole universe, the Cosmere, and I love fantasy books. There's not too many on this list that I've read this year because I spent most of the time reading Brandon Sanderson's book. I started reading this book in February, and I finished it at the end of April. I was reading it for a long time, and I think that's why it's not higher. I enjoyed this world. I loved the characters. The last little bit of this book was insane. I also included this in a reading vlog if you want to check out my reaction to the last few pages. Moving on, The Heart of a Mother. I think I listened to this also during our 24-hour reading challenge. I'm gonna put this at This Was Fine, I guess. This was really interesting. It was about a woman who gave up her daughter for adoption when she was younger, and I think thought she had found her and basically stalked her. Dude, this one was pretty crazy. It might be worth a read. This was fine, I guess, but maybe give it a go. Love Theoretically. Oh, I really liked this. 5 stars. Oh, 4.5, but I'm rounding up. I was like, excuse me? Yeah, they did have a 3rd act breakup, which I did not like, but I love Jack so much. I'm gonna put this at definitely worth a read. It might be the reason I read. Yeah. If a book can provoke those emotions out of me, it's the reason I read. Oh my gosh, we have one row left. Murder at the Royal Ruby. I don't know who that man is. I do remember this one. This was another Amazon audiobook. It was interesting, I guess. It was a lot about like revenge, a murder, obviously, but it was fine. Okay, The Garden. This was the first short story I read out of this collection, and I thought it was fine. I think it was as middle of the road as you could get. I liked it. It was interesting. I thought the writing was really beautiful in some areas. May not be for you, but I thought it was fine. If you're new here, you may not have heard me rave about this, but if you're not, you might want to brace yourself because we're going in yet again. The 6 Deaths of the Saint by Alex E. Harrow. Bury me with this book. I love this story to my core being. This is my soul. That's really dramatic, but I mean it. I have reread this book 3 times. This is one of the first things I read this year, and it changed my life dramatically. It is the reason so many of these books are not higher rated, because this shifted the entire scale for me. It's that good. I get that this may not be for everybody, even though I think it should be. It does start off in second person perspective. So if you are not somebody who thinks you will like that, maybe just try to give it a go. I did not think I would be somebody who liked it, but this to me is almost like a long form poem, like an epic poem, an epic tale. This is one of the most beautiful things I've ever read in my life, and it's the only Alex E. Harrow work that I have ever read, so I do plan on reading everything she's ever written. I adore her as a human being, but then also as a writer. So check it out. It may not be for you. It may not resonate with you like it resonated with me, and probably because I hype it up so much, people are gonna go in expecting like this holy writing that's just so good, it's like glowing, and it is to me. I think I've just attached so much of myself to it, and I see so much of myself in this character and in this world that it's just become a part of who I am. Maybe that won't resonate with you, maybe it will in some aspects, but for me, this is just, I weep thinking about this book, and I think about it every single day. I'm about to start crying just thinking about it, so I'm gonna move on. We're gonna talk about Persephone. Now, this is the 3rd book out of this kind of like stylistic, you can kind of see them. So I read The Garden, and then I read The 6 Deaths of the Saint, and then I read Persephone. I was kind of hopeful that Persephone would have the vibes of The 6 Deaths of the Saint. I was wrong. I gave this a 1 star, and I said, I'm sorry, but this was a no for me. So I'm gonna put it at how could I do this to myself, because I did not like this. Oh yeah. This one was like superheroes. God, this got so weird. I was like, this could be such a cool, like dark academia. Like you got a pomegranate on the cover. The covers are stunning. So I was like, oh, this is gonna be killer. Like this is gonna, wrong. Undercover. I don't know who that man is. Oh, I DNF'd it, that's why. Okay. Ooh, Big Bad. This was actually good. I'm gonna put this right around in here. This one kept me on my toes. Love werewolves, loved the story. High 4.5 stars. Me now, I think would lower that rating just a little bit now that I've let it sit. I think out of all the short stories I've read, yeah, no, it was better than The Pram, that's for sure. Slot Machine Fever Dreams, how could I do this to myself? I hated this. Me and Kayla listened to this during our 24-hour reading challenge. We both had no idea what was going on most of the time. I hated it. In Bloom. This one was fine. Think about like if a big blob kind of came through the town and was like a radioactive thing and killed a bunch of people, and then like 5 years later or 10 years, I don't remember, kind of like the myth about it and like you recalling like what happened. That's kind of the vibe of it. It was good. It was fine. Ankle Snatcher. This one, yeah. The reason I read, that one was insane. What I'm remembering right now, that one kept me up at night. Gave it 4 stars. It is definitely the reason I read. It was creepy and eerie in a really cool way, and I liked it. It was a little gory. I liked it. It was fun. Am I okay? Hannah Beast. This was fine, I guess. I read this also during our 24-hour challenge. It's about a girl who gets bullied during Halloween. She gets really made fun of, gets framed up for something she didn't do, and now one of the girls who bullied her is kind of haunted by Hannah. Okay. What the hell? A Lost Lady. I don't know who that man is because I read a few pages in it and then just couldn't. Pretty sure I found this one at a little library. I read like the beginning and then skimmed to the end because it was pretty short, but not for me. I didn't like it. I don't know who this man is, so I can't tell you much about it, but I just know I didn't like it. Almost Home. The reason I read. This is a collection of poetry. Where should it go? here. I really liked it. It's by Madison Kuhn. I'm not really sure how to say her last name, but I have been reading her since I was in high school, like on Tumblr. I've been reading her for a very long time, and I saw this in a little library, grabbed it, I read it all in one sitting. It was really good. I feel like a lot of poetry now especially is the reason I read. Oh, I love beautiful writing that can move me like that. Speaking of, this one, how could I do this to myself? This was trash. I got this at the same time that I got Almost Home. I mean, look at the vibes. I'm just gonna put them together. Do you see the vibes of that? They look so good together. This was by Atticus Poetry, and I'm pretty sure he's like a viral Instagram person, and it felt like a collection of Instagram captions. Yeah, I can't believe I read that. White Nights by Dostoevsky. I'm pretty sure I just butchered that name, but maybe I didn't. I don't really know. I'm gonna put this as like the top tier. This was fine. I think I expected White Nights to be something it wasn't, because I'd heard it recommended so much, and it's like a classic love story, which I can get the vibes. I think I need to reread it. It was my first writing of his that I've ever read. I think I was just really expecting it to hit, and it just kind of missed for me. So I do want to revisit it, but I'm okay with not. Good Girl, Bad Blood. Should I be mean? Should I be kind of mean? Should I be not so mean? I'm gonna be mean. Okay, I can hear you now. This is the second book in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. I read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, gave it 5 stars, I'm pretty sure. I really liked it. I read that last year. I sat down to read the second book, Good Girl, Bad Blood, and was heavily disappointed. I did not like it at all. It felt like everything I loved about Pip, who is the main character from the first book, all got washed away in the second book. I loved her resilience. I loved her confidence. I loved her steadfastness to solve this case and to serve justice to who was awful. It felt like in the second book, she shifted completely, which I know something traumatizing happened in the first book, but I feel like there's so many core attributes of a person, like you wouldn't change that dramatically. I'm just saying that as a writer who loves characters. I liked the book mostly for Pip. The fact that I lost all of that in the second book made me really not like or care about what was happening in the book. As well, there's supposed to be chemistry and this love dynamic happening between her and another character, and I didn't get it. So I don't plan on reading the third book in this series, frankly, because I just don't care. And I did skim all the way through. I did finish the book. I read the last like 50 pages, not skimming, and I'm glad I didn't waste my time actually reading it. Lovers at the Museum. This one was another short story that was by Isabel Allende, which I've heard of that author before. I didn't like this one, I think, as much as I wanted to. And the cover is stunning. Like, I thought the vibes would be immaculate, and it was just kind of weird. It didn't move me in any way. It just was a big question mark, which I don't know if that was her goal. I don't know if she always writes like that, but it just wasn't really for me. But it was fine. So I'm gonna put this at, this was fine, I guess. 4 to score. Janet Ivanovich, our main character Stephanie Plum, is a bounty hunter, and she is not very good at it, but she's getting good at it. This takes place in New Jersey, so there's a lot of like East Coast vibes, and I think it's written in the 90s is like when she wrote it, and then it's also set there. It's just very nostalgic. Like, it's fun. It's really fun. They were all kind of like middle of the road books. None of them have been like fantastic literature that like makes me like weep and like, oh my god, this is why I read, or maybe they're worth a read for you. I'm gonna keep them at this was fine, I guess, but it's a good series. Everywhere You Look. Oh, I did not like this. Did I like this? It's another short story. Her dad passes away and she's reeling from the loss of that, but then also she like thinks she sees him, and then she starts finding out a lot of her life was a lie and just uncovering those different lies and things like that. In hindsight, I don't think I liked this. I just related a lot to her and her loss. This was fine. This was better than Lovers at the Museum. Song of Achilles. Bury me with this. This is 6 stars. I get it. I understand the hype. This was one of the books I read the 1-star reviews for, as well as The 6 Deaths of the Saint and The Reason I Got Violent. But some people were saying just, and that's their opinion, that's totally fine. These are mine. Some people were saying though that like they just didn't understand the love between them, and I get it. You have to put yourself also as being so young, and when you fall for somebody at such a young age like that, when you're like in high school or middle school, and when you fall so hard, and just like the fact of like how they went about this as well, and like how beautiful the Greek mythology was. Like some people I've seen say are like Achilles and Song of Achilles and Achilles and the actual mythology to them are like two totally different characters. I feel like that's a really good way to kind of look at it, is like Song of Achilles as its own entity, and just read it as literature and enjoy it. You don't have to know Greek mythology to read it. Madeline did such a good job of delivering it in such a good way where you didn't feel dumb reading about the Greek mythology and you didn't feel like you were missing anything. I think Song of Achilles was just worth the hype. Circe. Definitely worth a read. I'll put it here. It was worth a read. I read that after I read Song of Achilles. It's also by Madeline Miller. I wanted to stay in that Greek mythology world, and I read Circe. I did not like it as much. It took me about a month to read. I was really slow to finish this book, and I feel like that's why it turned out to be a 3.5 star for me. I think if I had read it before Song of Achilles, I might have liked it a little bit more. Song of Achilles was just so unmatched. She did such a good job with it that I could not really get down with Circe, I think, the way I would have. What Lies Between Us, definitely worth a read. This is a thriller mystery. Trevor and I actually listened to this together as an audiobook. Oh my god, it was so layered in the mystery. The thrillerness of it was so insane. It was about this woman who kept her mom locked up in the attic. She has her reasons for it, and like it's basically a revenge plot, and then switches between the mom's POV and her POV as the daughter, what went on between them to cause this, and it flashes back in time to when the daughter was younger, what went on. And dude, when I tell you this was insane, I highly recommend the audiobook specifically. This was crazy. What Lies Between Us, I have not heard anybody rave about this, and I feel like it needs to be raved about because wow. Not really the reason I read, because some parts of it were too gruesome for me. Definitely worth a read. We're on to the last book, The Truth in Rented Rooms. This is another book that I bought at that library sale. I'm gonna put this, I'm torn honestly between Bury Me With This and The Reason I Read. This is a poetry collection by a man named Kun Woon. I'm gonna put it at Bury Me With This. I do want to say though, there are a handful of these poems that made me a little uncomfortable. I think there was like 3 or 4 about sexual prowess and just kind of grossed me out a little bit. As like a woman, it just made me uncomfortable. I'm gonna just move on. So many of these poems resonated with me. I was just at a loss. I cried over a couple of them. One of them was probably the best poem I've ever read in my life, ever. And I love poetry. Let me go grab it and I'm gonna read you like one of my favorite quotes. So this is it. And I love that it's a square shape. But yeah, I've already annotated so much. I got this from that library sale, and this has 29 ratings on Goodreads and 5 reviews. It is not really well known. I don't know where you can get this, but if you can and you like poetry, please support this. One of the ones that really moved me was his poem on his grandmother and him leaving his home country to come to America, and just, ooh, it was gut-wrenching. But yeah, so my favorite poem is this one right here. If you don't want to hear me read some of these quotes, go ahead and skip, but I'm gonna read a couple of them that just really hit home with me. The guitar, its notes falling as a fountain in Spain, modeled in tape and bearing the agitated humming from the typewriter. No, life is not forever. As the wind and water softly whisper a record on the beach sand to say my life was not among the favored. I'm skipping a few lines. And now you are afraid of my anger because I ripped the calendar off. For over half of my life, I did not search in the right places for you. Skipping some more. The 4 corners are illuminated and this room is great. Philosophical inquiry. Catch the light in a rented home. We have our allotment of bugs and mice, and in a coin-operated universe such as this one, it is possible to punch the wrong item and there could be some faulty wiring. And you may not get what you want if you get anything at all, but be my friend for this evening. I am lonely and time spreads itself languidly on the bed. A rented room somewhere but not far from the tracks, and you briefly come into it. An unknown stealthily seeps in, pretending to be wind. This is my favorite part. Okay, the last stanza. I need your presence in this room. It is a good room, and I am doing good in this room, as Lucifer in his ways hangs on to his corner of hell, and all the events in the universe are chained, and this is a possible room you may have passed through, and it could also be a necessary room for you to stay, and it is not necessary and not possible that it is perfect. No, it is a lit room and a typewriter is at one corner. When I tell you I read that and I cried and I just stared into the abyss. Woo! Clearly, prose, beautiful writing, poetry are my favorite things to read. Things that move me deeply get 6 stars. And this poetry book did it. Again, there are a few poems that I would take out, but I'm giving them credit where credit is due, and I want that buried with me. I suggest getting Kindle Unlimited so that you can listen to some short story audiobooks. Some of them are fantastic, some of them are misses, but I think it's worth it, especially if you want to read more and read more genres and kind of spread out your reading sphere. Like, I have a lot of different types of genres. Like, I see a lot of people either are like only romance or are only fantasy, and looking at this, I am just all over the place. So I hope you could find at least one book recommendation to add to your TBR. I'm really excited to see what the rest of the year holds. We are going to start traveling again soon, so that means more reading, more content, more fun experimental videos, just more in general. If you are interested in watching more behind the scenes vibes, I'm going to be posting a vlog of my last few days here before we get ready to travel, and then more vlog style / travel content is going to be on my second channel, Traveling the Right Way. Go check that one out. I will link it down below. But right now, that's all I got for you. I really hope that you enjoyed today's video. Give this video a like if you liked it. Comment down below a book emoji and let me know what your favorite book of the year is that you have read. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on post notifications so you get notified every single time that I post a new video. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!